I'm making pork chops with brandied cherry sauce. Sounds fancy, doesn't it? And to go with it, zucchini with walnuts. I'm going to start by heating up 2 big skillets here. This front skillet is going to be for my chops, and this back skillet is going to be for my zucchini and walnut side dish. I'm also going to preheat the oven to 375 because I have nice thick chops. I'm going to want to finish them off in the oven. Just a little coat on the bottom there, a couple times around. Now I seasoned the top. I'm going to set them into the pan, season side down, go wash up a bit, and then I'll season this top side. I'm going to start them, brown them a few minutes on each side, then kind of finish them off in the oven so they don't dry out on me or get, too browned on each side. Salt and pepper. Walnuts are so delicious, but they really develop their flavor when you toast them. So I got a couple of handfuls here. Any nuts develop their flavor more when you toast them. The oils come out and, just smells great right off the bat. Now the reason I'm toasting up these nuts is to pair it up with my zucchini, and I think it adds such a neat texture to the side dish. You know, it's a mix of a nice tender zucchini and that extra crunch of the nut. It's absolutely fabulous together. I'm just going to trim up the ends of the zucchinis here. And then what you want to do is slice them into about 1/4-inch discs. Now, if you feel like the zucchini's round and he's going to roll away from you, you can just do a real thin trim off the back there and give him feet. And he'll be nice and stable so you can slice him super thin and he won't roll around on you. Just like that. Now these chops, I'm going to transfer them to the oven so that the outside doesn't get kind of too crisp on me. I want to keep them nice and juicy. See, they're very thick. They're just over 1 inch thick there. So I want to finish these off in that 375-degree oven. I'm just going to put them in there for a few minutes. And I'm going to keep a tinfoil tent on them, and they'll be absolutely juicy and delicious and perfectly cooked through without being dried out. Just slide them right in there. And we'll see them again in a few minutes. I'm going to get these nuts out of the pan because they're beautifully toasted. I don't want them to burn. That's my little spoonula. Okay. And then right into the same skillet, you just put the skillet right back on the stove. I'm going to put a little EVOO, a little extra virgin olive oil, and some butter. I mix the two because I want the butter to be able to come to a higher cooking temperature without burning on me. So a little drizzle around the pan with the EVOO. Grab a knife, little pat of butter in there, and we can get the zucchini in. You want the disc to get tender, but I like to keep a little bit of color and crunch to them too, so I won't let these go too far. Scatter them around in an even layer, and then I season them up with salt, pepper, and nutmeg. Now I like freshly grated nutmeg. You can find the nutmeg right in the regular grocery store like this, but if you have some ground nutmeg on hand in the cupboard, of course use that. You want about a ½ teaspoon. I'm just grating it right over the pan, and you can just eyeball that. It's so terrific with the walnuts. Such a fantastic flavor combo. Smells awesome. Coarse salt and black pepper. And then these are good to go for a few minutes. Oh, let me show you what I'm doing with the shallot here. I just trimmed off the end, and I cut them in half first. Then I'm going to peel the skin off and leave the root on the other end. That's going to keep it all together as we finally chop them. Whoops! Shallot overboard. I'm going to use a couple of shallots for this. See, you just thinly slice it this way, and the finer you slice it that direction, of course, the smaller the pieces are going to be. Then you just cut into it on an angle, and then you just work right across the shallot just like that. And you end up with nice small pieces. Now, if you don't have a skillet that you can transfer to the oven, because that's where I just finished these chops off, you can just take a regular handled skillet, with like a rubber handle, put 2 layers of tin foil on it, and pop it in the oven. It'll be just fine. Now these chops are just about perfect, but they're going to continue to cook right on the platter here. It's called carryover cooking. And you just put the foil on top to keep them nice and warm. And it'll continue to cook through. And the juices will redistribute and it'll be just lovely. To this pan here, I'm going to get this hot. Ooh, and here's another great tip. Look at this, is very simple. Leave a pot holder or your kitchen towel on the handle here, and that way it's flagged. You know, it'll say, hello, I'm very hot. So when you put your hands on that again, you're not surprised and shocked that, oh, wow, that pan just came out of the oven. Now, I've got a little bit of the juices in the pan there. Ooh, look at these. My zucchini, I want to give this a quick toss. This is my side dish for this wonderful impromptu dinner that we're making here. I've got my thinly sliced zucchini cooking up nicely here, sauteing along with salt, pepper, and nutmeg. Now to this pan, I'm going to add the shallots that I chopped. Remember, I chopped 2 shallots. This is the start of my cherry sauce. I'm going to add a little bit of EVOO to put in with those pan juices. And all of my shallots, lovely. Give that a little shake. Get them going. That's 2 shallots I've got there. You could use one of those big ones. Sometimes they're a little bigger than others. And I'm going to open a can of cherries. Now these are pitted black cherries. You find them on the baking aisle, and that's what makes this dish great for year-round cooking. In season, get fresh cherries. You're going to want to pit them. You need about 2 dozen of them to make 4 chops. And you're going to want to sprinkle a little sugar on them. Macerate them. Just let them hang out a few minutes. Get nice and sweet. But these are all ready to go. So I've got the canned pitted cherries. Get them right in the pan with my shallots. This is on pretty high heat, because now we're going to get the brandy in there. Here's another good tip for you. Whenever you're adding liquor to a hot pan like this, we're going to flame it, and that's fun and exciting and cool and adds great flavor. But when you're adding the liquor to the pan, hey, safety first. Pull your skillet off. Adding a couple of shots of brandy here. The bottle down. And then put it back and let it flame up. Very festive. Now this is a cool meal to do in front of your friends, like invite them over, give them a drink. Hey, it's impromptu entertaining. You pick up the food on the way home, and then make sure they're there to see that, because they'll be like, oh, so impressed. Okay, now while that brandy's cooking out and cooking down, adding some great flavor, you can cut back a little bit on the heat. I'm going to keep my towel on my handle here so that I'm aware that that's a hot pan. And I'm just the klutzy type to forget that too, let me tell you. And I'm going to add about a cup of the chicken stock. That's about a half a can, just shy of a half a can. And I'm going to let that cook down a little. This is zucchini I sauteed, and I'm putting my toasted walnuts on top. The inspiration for this was actually a zucchini and walnut muffin I was eating for breakfast one day. And I thought, wow, what a great side dish that would be. Done. It's got a nice crunch, a great mix of textures there. Fabulous. Now I'm going to finish off my sauce here. I've got a wonderful brandy and cherry sauce simmering away. And I'm going to add one last layer of flavor, a real lovely surprise, fresh mint. If you don't cook with mint, I got to tell you, wow, is it a knockout item to add. I just put this in last second, makes all the flavors just pop and totally come alive. Plus, it adds great color to this dish. Just put it in the last second, and I add a little bit of butter to gloss the sauce. I'm so happy I remembered to keep the side towel on my handle there, because boy, I burn myself all the time. That's a great quick tip. You just melt the butter into those cherries that we cooked with shallots and brandy and a little bit of chicken stock. The chicken stock is cooked almost completely out, just really deepens the flavor. My chops continued cooking underneath their loose tinfoil tent. Center cut loin pork chops, nice and lean, gorgeous and affordable. Pour the cherries down over the top, and that's ready to go to the table. Isn't this beautiful? Very few ingredients, but what stage presence that has. Stunning.